Ziyan's strength was so overwhelming that even the deputy hall master of the Soul Hall turned pale with fear. Continuing from the previous chapter, Xiao brought Ziyan back to the Falling Star Pavilion, astonishing everyone. The Dragon Emperor of the primordial ancient dragon clan was a figure shrouded in immense mystery to many. To most, even ordinary members of this clan were legendary beings, as sightings of the primordial ancient dragons in the Central Plains were extremely rare. In many hearts, the primordial ancient dragons were as mysterious and powerful as the 8 ancient clans. The Dragon Emperor was considered on par with the leaders of the Gu clan and Soul clan. Even formidable figures like Yuewen Ancestor and the Pill Tower's Grand Elder had never seen the Dragon Emperor in person. Therefore, when they learned that Ziyan was the Dragon Emperor of legend, their shock was palpable. Yao Lao was momentarily stunned by Xiao Yan's words. After regaining his composure, he respectfully cupped his fists towards Ziyan and said with a smile, "Haha, I never imagined that Miss Ziyan would have such a background. It seems my old eyes were indeed blind." Ziyan felt somewhat uncomfortable with Yao Lao's courteous treatment. She knew Xiao Yan regarded Yao Lao as a father figure, so naturally, she couldn't put on the airs of a dragon emperor in his presence. Understanding Ziyan's thoughts, Xiao Yan smiled and took over the conversation. "Teacher, no need to be overly formal. Just treat her as you did before, as the little girl she used to be. Now, regarding your earlier proposal, I assume you've decided which branch of the Soul Hall to target?" At the mention of serious matters, Yao Lao's expression turned grave. He nodded and said, "We have gathered a lot of intelligence on the Soul Hall during this period. There are many branches in the Central Plains, with 24 of significant importance. These are known as the Earth Demon Halls. The branch where I was held captive was one of these Earth Demon Halls." "Earth Demon Halls," Xiao Yan murmured, nodding. It was indeed something he hadn't heard of before. Yao Lao continued, "Above the Earth Demon Halls are the Heavenly Star Halls, the most critical divisions of the Soul Hall. The Heavenly Star Halls are divided into 3, Heaven Hall, Earth Hall, and Human Hall, with the Heaven Hall being the Soul Hall's headquarters. We don't know its location yet, but this time, our target is the Human Hall of the Heavenly Star Halls." Xiao Yan asked, "How strong is the Human Hall?" Yao Lao replied, "The Earth Hall is under the control of the Vice Hall Master, while the Human Hall is managed by the Great Heavenly Dozun and the Second Heavenly Dozun, among others. Of course, there's also a possibility that the Soul Hall has increased its defenses." Xiao Yan smiled faintly, with a hint of coldness in his expression. "The Third Heavenly Dozun has already fallen by my hand, and the Second Heavenly Dozun, Bone Ghost Saint, is merely a high-level half-Do Sheng. As for the Great Heavenly Dozun, I'm not afraid to face him now. It seems the Human Hall can indeed be taken." Xiao Yan harbored genuine hatred for the Soul Hall. Over the years, he had narrowly escaped death at their hands many times. Now, with his strength greatly increased, it was time to take some initiative and settle old scores. Xiao Yan turned his gaze to Yuewen Ancestor and the Pill Tower's Grand Elder and said, "Leave the destruction of the Human Hall to me. The Alliance still needs strong protectors to guard against the Soul Hall's potential attacks, so I hope Senior Huayun and others will stay here." Yao Lao hesitated for a moment and then said, "I'll go with you. The location of the Human Hall is quite secretive. Even with a map, it's hard to find." Hearing this, Xiao Yan hesitated slightly before nodding. "Very well." With Ziyan, a 4-star Doshang, by their side, there were few peak experts in the Central Plains who could pose a threat to them. Even the true master of the Soul Hall would find it difficult to defeat Ziyan and take their lives. Yao Lao stroked his beard, his eyes gleaming with a fierce light, and said, "In that case, take a 2-day rest. After 2 days, we will set off for the Human Hall." For many years, he and Xiao Yan had been hiding from the relentless pursuit of the Soul Hall. Now, they finally had a chance to turn the tables. If they didn't exact their revenge 1,000-fold, how could they find peace? Xiao Yan watched as little Xiao ran joyfully through the air towards him, calling, "Daddy." A warm smile spread across his face as he hurriedly stepped forward to catch the small figure leaping into his arms. A gentle warmth spread through his heart. Little Xiao, with her big, dark eyes, looked around behind Xiao Yan, trying to find Kailin. "Daddy, where's Mommy?" Xiaoyan smiled, holding little Xiao. "Hee hee, Mommy is still cultivating. When she's done, she'll come back to see you." He suddenly noticed that the previously turbulent energy within little Xiao's body was now gradually calming down, subtly following her mental commands. Yao Lao smiled slightly and said, Xiao has an exceptional talent for cultivation. In just over 6 months, she has managed to fully control the energy within her. She is now a genuine dozong. Xiao patted Xiao's little head, unable to suppress a wry smile. Dozong. Thinking back to the arduous journey he had undertaken to become a dozong, Xiao couldn't help but feel amazed at how easily Xiao had reached this level with minimal effort. It truly made one sigh in wonder. Yao Lao looked at Xiao with a loving gaze and said with a smile, "She also has a keen interest in alchemy. I plan to teach her the flame mantra when she gets a bit older and find her a heavenly flame to practice with slowly." Xiao, feeling a bit helpless, said, "You really do spoil her." He handed little Xiao to Ziyin, who was watching with curiosity. As they looked at each other with wide eyes, he clasped his hand, and a jade bottle appeared, containing a drop of golden liquid that emitted a terrifyingly powerful aura. Seeing the blood in the jade bottle, Yao Lao's expression changed slightly as he sensed the formidable power within. "What's this?" Xiao smiled and tossed it to Yao Lao, saying, "This is the essence blood left by a being who had 1 foot in the realm of Do Di. If you consume it, teacher, you should be able to quickly break through to a 1-star doshang." Yao Lao carefully caught the jade bottle, examining it for a long time with evident hesitation. This item was incredibly precious, not only to him, but also to Xiao. Xiao smiled slightly. "I've already consumed it once, so another dose won't have much effect. Teacher, you should refine it within the next few days. Once you've refined it, we'll set out for the human hall and erase it from the central plains." Without waiting for Yao Lao to say more, he turned and led Ziyin and Xiao out of the courtyard. Yao Lao watched Xiao's back for a moment before letting out a wry smile. Gripping the jade bottle in his hand, he felt a warm sensation in his heart. In the following days, Xiao stayed in the Falling Star Pavilion. With some free time, he began teaching Xiao some of his Do skills. Her astounding talent continually surprised him, making him realize that she was a true genius. Comparing her to his so-called genius years in Wutan City was like comparing a small stream to a vast ocean. During these 5 days, Xiao thoroughly enjoyed the experience of being a father. This feeling sometimes made him suddenly realize that he was truly maturing. He was no longer the impulsive, naive boy he once was, but a truly formidable presence. On the 6th day, Yao Lao emerged from his seclusion and appeared before Xiao. The vast aura emanating from him made it clear that he had successfully broken through to a 1-star doshang. Xiao wasn't surprised by Yao Lao's breakthrough. Yao Lao had a solid foundation, and with the boost from the Demon Saint's essence blood, reaching 1-star doshang was expected. The day after Yao Lao's breakthrough, Xiao and his group quietly disappeared from the Falling Star Pavilion. Only a few high-ranking members knew that the Sky Mansion Alliance had quietly initiated their first counterattack against the Soul Hall. The Burial Corpse mountain range, located at the southwestern edge of the Central Plains, was filled with a heavy Yin aura due to its terrain. This Yin aura was mixed with a dense corpse aura, as the surrounding families buried their dead in this area, making the mountain range a bizarre landscape of graves. Normally, this eerie place was deserted, as no one wished to linger in such a ghostly atmosphere. Suddenly, the silence of the Burial Corpse mountain range was broken by the sound of rushing wind. Several figures appeared atop a mountain peak deep within the range, their gazes fixed on the depths of the mountains where space seemed to warp behind tall, gray trees. Yao Lao pointed towards the depths, saying, "The human hall of the Heavenly Star Hall is deep within the Burial Corpse mountain range. There's a spatial barrier there that will alert them if someone enters." Xiao nodded slightly and looked at Ziyin. She smiled and waved her sleeve, causing the space in the area to ripple and form a larger spatial barrier, enveloping the entire region. Xiao slightly raised his head and said, "This time, leave no survivors." His face took on a sinister expression. Soul Hall. After all these years, this revenge isn't too late, is it? In the slightly distorted space, there was a vast expanse of black land. Occasionally, patches of bone white could be seen on the surface, revealing broken skeletons that exuded a cold and eerie aura. At the center of this vast area stood a massive black hall, silent and imposing like an ancient beast lying in wait. A sinister and terrifying atmosphere slowly permeated the sealed space. Inside the black hall, countless thick black chains extended into the ground. On these chains, black fog swirled and vaguely formed human shapes. The chains occasionally glimmered with light that merged into the black fog, making it more solid. The entire area was eerily quiet, enveloped in a strange atmosphere that sent shivers down one's spine. The silence lasted for an unknown amount of time until suddenly, about a dozen black fogs rose from the chains. The fog condensed into cold-looking human figures. They exchanged glances and then gathered together. Among these people, a figure who seemed to be the leader spoke in a raspy voice. "Let's go. It's time for us to carry out our mission. Hopefully, this time we can bring back enough souls." One of them laughed sinisterly. "Recently, Old Monster Lu's group attacked several Sky Mansion cities, bringing back plenty of souls and receiving great rewards from Lord Tianzun. This time, let's also go and massacre a few Sky Mansion cities. Remember, leave no survivors." The leader smiled coldly and nodded slowly. With a wave of his hand, the dozen figures turned into black fog and swiftly shot out of the space. However, just as this group of black fog was about to break through the spatial barrier, the space around them suddenly froze and then collapsed violently. The dozen figures were crushed into nothingness by the terrifying spatial force before they could even scream. As the figures turned to dust, the spatial barrier slowly opened a large gap, and several figures stepped in, their feet landing on the dark land. As soon as Xiao group stepped into the spatial barrier, a mournful wailing sound echoed from the black hall. Instantly, countless sinister eyes shot out from the black fog on the chains, locking onto Xiao and his companions. A series of chilling shouts echoed. "How dare you trespass into our soul hall? You're courting death." The sudden noise shattered the eerie silence, and numerous figures stood up from the chains. Without waiting for orders, they turned into black beams, bringing with them a cold wind as they surged towards Xiao and his group, filling the sky. Seeing this, Xiao smiled and opened his mouth, spewing a scorching sea of fire. Any shadows that came within 10 meters of the fire were incinerated into nothingness within 3 breaths, some weaker ones not even managing to scream. As the sea of fire spread, the approaching shadows halted in terror, realizing that this group was not here to die but had come fully prepared. Amidst the blazing sky, an angry and somewhat familiar voice echoed from within the giant hall. "You wretches! How dare you cause trouble in my soul hall? You're tired of living. All heavenly dozuns, capture them." Immediately, a dozen figures shot out from the giant hall like lightning, hovering in the sky, their eyes sinisterly fixed on Xiao and his group behind the fire. Xiao laughed loudly. "Haha, you dare to bring out mere dozuns? Bone Ghost old man, you'd better come out yourself." His laughter, like thunder, rumbled into the giant hall. As he laughed, he stepped forward, crossing the vast sea of fire in an instant, and appeared in midair. He clenched his hand towards the group of Soul Hall, heavenly dozuns, instantly freezing the space around them, and then tightened his grip. With Xiao grip, the bodies of the dozen Soul Hall, heavenly dozuns exploded into bloody mists, even their souls shattered by the terrifying spatial force. Given Xiao current strength as a 2-star doshang, these mere dozun-level opponents couldn't hinder him in the slightest. After crushing them with a single grip, Xiao suddenly exclaimed, "Huh? Sea Heart Flame?" He noticed that amid the collapsing space, a figure remained, surrounded by a blue flame. With a glance, Xiao recognized the origin of this flame. A mocking smile appeared on Xiao face as he waved his hand, and an invisible force grabbed the figure. "Are you Mugu Elder?" With a swipe, Xiao extinguished the blue flame surrounding the figure, revealing a familiar face. It was indeed Mugu Elder, who had repeatedly caused trouble for Xiao and tried to snatch the champion title at the pill gathering. Xiao was surprised, but Mugu Elder was terrified to the point of near panic. Xiao, since his failed attempt to seize the 3,000 burning flames, he had been assigned to the human hall, collecting souls outside the central plains. Though he had occasionally heard rumors of Xiao rapidly increasing strength, he hadn't delved into them. But now, seeing him again, he realized just how terrifyingly powerful Xiao had become. Looking at Xiao young face, Mugu Elder felt his voice tremble. "You've reached Dosheng?" In just a few short years, the young man he once hunted down and forced into desperate straits had grown this powerful. Xiao smiled. "Heh, it's been many years since we last met. It's a pity to see heart flame wasted on someone like you. Now that we've crossed paths again, hand it over." Without any politeness, he placed his hand directly on Mugu Elder's head. A strange suction force surged from his hand, attempting to forcibly extract the sea heart flame from Mugu Elder's body. Just as Xiao was about to extract the sea heart flame, an angry roar came from within the giant hall. "Xiao, you dare to trespass in my soul hall? You're courting death." Immediately, a dark shadow shot out, wielding a massive black chain hundreds of meters long. The chain, like a black poisonous dragon, pierced through the void, rushing towards Xiao. Xiao shook his head slightly at the chain. "With just half-saint strength, you dare to show off? Bone Ghost old man, you overestimate yourself." With a flick of his finger, a deep sonic boom formed at his fingertip. The giant chain was struck as if by a heavy blow, recoiling violently before crashing into the giant hall. With a single finger flick, Xiao repelled the attack of the Bone Ghost Saint. He then grabbed forcefully, pulling out a cluster of blue flames from Mugu Elder's body. The latter's aura plummeted instantly, clearly suffering a fatal blow. As the sea heart flame was forcibly taken, Mugu Elder's eyes turned blood red. His body began to swell. "Xiao, I'll fight you to the death." Clearly, he intended to self-destruct. Xiao glanced at him coldly. "You don't even have the right to self-destruct in front of me now." With a casual wave of his sleeve, an indescribable, terrifying force slammed into Mugu Elder's body. In an instant, the force shattered his body into a cloud of blood mist. This Soul Hall Elder, who once hunted Xiao relentlessly, now didn't even have the chance to self-destruct in front of him. After crushing Mugu Elder's body and soul, Xiao glanced at the sea heart flame in his hand. He opened his mouth and swallowed it. Although absorbing the sea heart flame wouldn't increase his strength much at his current level, it was necessary for using the Buddha Fury Lotus Flame. Transforming Flame was decent but still a fake flame. With the sea heart flame, Xiao could finally unleash the true power of the five-colored destruction lotus. "Xiao, today this place will be your grave." After Xiao swallowed the sea heart flame, the figure of the Bone Ghost Saint appeared in midair, shouting menacingly. Xiao looked up and smiled slightly at Bone Ghost Saint, speaking softly, "Sorry, but today, I intend to wash this place in blood." Ziyin had already disturbed the spatial fluctuations in this area, making any space talismans for summoning Soul Clan experts ineffective. Hearing this, Bone Ghost Saint laughed in extreme anger. "Just a brat like you?" Over the years, Xiao was the first to dare claim he would wash the Soul Hall in blood. Xiao ignored him, turning his gaze to the black giant hall. He said indifferently, "Of course, I know you don't call the shots here. The so-called Great Heaven Master, stop hiding. Today, I, Xiao, will wash this place in blood." As Xiao voice fell, a cold snort echoed from the depths of the giant hall. "Humph, such arrogance. Don't think that reaching the Dosheng level means you can do whatever you want. Erasing you from existence is merely a matter of raising a hand for my Soul Clan." Thick black mist surged forth, and within it, a gaunt, skeletal figure emerged slowly, exuding a sinister aura. As the black mist swirled, a hunched figure, skeletal and withered, appeared before Xiao eyes. Draped in a black robe, The old man's face was extremely desiccated, with sunken eyes that harbored two flickering ghostly flames, emitting an eerie glow. Xiao Yin gazed at the old figure, a faint smile on his lips. He spoke softly, "The legendary Heavenly Dozun of the Soul Hall. You finally decided to show yourself?" The old figure slowly raised his head, his withered face looking somewhat terrifying in the light. The ghostly flames in his eyes flickered slightly as a hoarse, chilling voice resonated. "Xiao Yin, I never expected you to have the audacity to come here willingly. Our clan had decided to let you live a bit longer, but since you came on your own, I, the old man, will take your life now." Xiao Yin chuckled. Who takes whose life is yet to be determined. His eyes, however, were cold as he stared at the old man. Back when he killed the Bone Ghost Saint, this old ghost had secretly saved him. If he had shown up then, Xiao Yin might not have won so easily. But now, things were different. With his current abilities, Xiao Yin could see through the Heavenly Dozun's power, a mid-2-star Do Sheng. Though still slightly stronger than Xiao Yin after his recent improvements, this gap was not insurmountable for him. Bone Ghost Saint's eyes gleamed with a fierce light. "Big brother, there's no need to waste words with this youngster. Kill him and extract his soul. The soul of a half-Do Sheng is worth as much as the souls collected by one of our sub-halls over 100 years. Having suffered a significant loss to Xiao Yin before, the Bone Ghost Saint harbored a deep grudge. However, he had been too afraid of Xiao Yan's power to seek revenge. Now, with Xiao Yin daring to intrude into the Soul Hall, he must pay a heavy price. As soon as the Bone Ghost Saint finished speaking, the space in front of him distorted, and Yao Lao's figure slowly emerged. "Heh, Bone Ghost Saint, you sure talk a lot of nonsense. Let me shut you up." Seeing Yao Lao appear, the Bone Ghost Saint's expression darkened. He was about to mock him when he sensed a subtle pressure emanating from Yao Lao's body. His face immediately turned ugly. You've broken through to Do Sheng?" Looking at the Bone Ghost Saint's twitching face, Yao Lao smiled faintly. "It was just luck. Last time you ambushed me, but this time, it's time to repay that debt." The Bone Ghost Saint snorted coldly but showed no sign of fear. Don't think I'm afraid of you just because you reached Do Sheng. I'm only a step away myself." This was their home turf. His Do Chi would significantly increase here. Pressing his palms together, a torrent of black energy surged from his body. The massive chains surrounding the giant hall trembled violently, and waves of black mist poured into his body. Do Chi surged as Bone Ghost Saint roared like a descending demon god. "Yao Chun, today I want to see what makes you think you can come to our Soul Hall to collect debts. Last time, we captured you, and this time, I will ensure you are imprisoned in the Soul Hall again." The sound of clanging filled the air as countless black chains emerged from the black mist, emitting piercing screams as they hurtled toward Yao Lao, creating an overwhelming and terrifying momentum. Yao Lao merely smiled and stood his ground, his Do Chi surging as he transformed into a flash of lightning, clashing heavily with Bone Ghost Saint. As Yao Lao and Bone Ghost Saint engaged, Xiao Yin no longer bothered with the Heavenly Dozun, glancing at the surrounding Soul Hall experts. He turned to Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin, smiling, "The rest of them are yours." Although the human hall was heavily guarded, with numerous Heavenly Dozuns present, Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin's current strength allowed them to fight even half-Do Sheng experts. Naturally, they were not afraid of the opponent's numbers. Moreover, with Qing Lin's Azure Serpent Triflower pupil, the outcome of who would dominate in numbers was uncertain. Seeing this, the Heavenly Dozun's face turned slightly cold. He formed a seal with his hands within his sleeves. As the seal formed, the space around Xiao Yin rippled, and countless sharp white bones suddenly appeared from the surrounding void, stabbing toward him at lightning speed. Seeing the bone spikes coming at him like lightning, Xiao Yin smiled. Child's play. With a wave of his sleeve, a powerful flame erupted from his body. The terrifying heat instantly melted the bone spikes. The Heavenly Dozun's chilling voice rang out, "Bone Ghost Saint Sky Splitter." Just as the bone spikes melted away, a massive bone blade, emitting a strange aura, split the void and slashed down at Xiao Yin from above. accompanied by the strange bone blade. An odd fluctuation spread out, shooting toward Xiao Yin at lightning speed. Feeling the strange fluctuation, Xiao Yin was slightly surprised. A soul attack? He hadn't expected the heavenly Do Zun to also know soul attacks. However, when it came to soul power confrontations, Xiao Yin had never feared anyone. Xiao Yin clenched his fist, his expression calm. Break. He threw a simple punch, without any fancy techniques or Do Qi fluctuations. As he punched, his soul power surged from his brow. An invisible soul punch shot from Xiao Yan's palm, colliding with the bone blade's fluctuation in midair, and both were annihilated. Seeing his soul fluctuation easily shattered by Xiao Yin, the heavenly Do Zun flashed into the sky, under the massive 100 meters bone blade. His hand, surrounded by black mist, transformed into a giant hand, gripping the blade's hilt. With a cold shout, the bone blade tore through the space, instantly arriving above Xiao Yin, slashing down with an extremely terrifying and sharp wave. That bone blade is peculiar. It seems it can harm the soul. As the massive bone blade rapidly enlarged in Xiao Yan's pupils, he pressed down on the void with his hands. The ground below surged upward, and nearly 100 giant magma pillars shot out, colliding fiercely with the bone blade. The attack was blocked, but the heavenly Do Zun snorted coldly. With a slight sweep of the massive bone blade, the 100-odd giant magma pillars exploded. Even the violent flame energy from the earth was suppressed by the slash. The heavenly Do Zun held the bone blade horizontally, his voice cold and sinister. Xiao Yin, this bone blade is forged from the bones of 10,000 people, with countless souls sacrificed to it. As long as its blade wind invades your body, you will suffer the torment of 10,000 souls devouring you. Today, I will use it to take your life, which is quite an honor for you. Xiao Yin sneered. Cheap tricks. Confident in his protection from the heavenly flames, he dismissed the notion that any blade could harm his soul. With a swipe of his palm, 5 flames appeared before him, including the newly refined Sea Heart Flame, forming a formidable collection of 5 true heavenly flames. Xiao Yin declared, "Since you have so much faith in that bone blade, let me shatter it for you." His hands moved rapidly, forming seals, and the 5 heavenly flames before him swelled, transforming into massive fire spirits in the forms of a wolf, leopard, serpent, and other beasts. They floated in the sky, connecting with each other to form a gigantic flame array. The 5-ring flame expelling technique was powerful, with just 4 of the flames formed from heavenly flames, equating to a heaven-class combat skill. Now, with all 5 heavenly flames, Xiao Yin had pushed this technique to its absolute limit. The 5 fire spirits quickly merged, forming a colossal fire wheel hundreds of meters in size. As the fire wheel spun furiously, the surrounding space began to collapse into darkness. The heavenly Do Zun let out a sinister laugh. Arrogant. Black energy surged from his body, transforming into menacing spirits that screamed as they poured into the bone blade. As more spirits entered, the bone blade surface, initially a ghastly white, started to show streaks of dark red, resembling old bloodstains. With the eerie bloodstains appearing on the bone blade, the heavenly Do Zun's expression grew solemn. He swung his hand forcefully, shouting, "Soul-extinguishing slash! Break it for me!" The massive bone blade slashed down towards the hovering fire wheel. The heavenly Do Zun's face flushed with exertion as the bone blade tore through the space, leaving a massive rift in its wake. The ground 1,000 meters below was cleaved open, forming a deep trench hundreds of meters long. Feeling the ferocity of the heavenly Do Zun strike, Xiao Yin changed his hand seals. The fire wheel abruptly redirected, spinning wildly before hurtling forward like a vast, sky-covering blade, colliding head-on with the massive bone blade. At the moment of collision, an earth-shattering explosion erupted within the sealed space. A colossal energy storm swept through, collapsing the black giant hall beneath them. The terrifying energy fluctuations spread across the sky, causing even the spatial barrier enveloping the area to ripple violently, with faint cracks appearing. In the sky, where the energy storm converged, A fierce shockwave sent the enormous fire wheel recoiling. As it spun rapidly, it grew increasingly thin until it finally dissipated. Simultaneously, the massive bone blade was thrown back from the storm, crashing heavily into a mountain, reducing it to rubble. The bone blade lay powerlessly among the debris. The direct clash had left both sides without a clear advantage, each sustaining damage. "This bone blade is indeed peculiar," Xiao observed as the flame array above his head gradually dissipated into 5 flames, which he swallowed back into his body. His gaze turned towards the bone blade with a hint of surprise. Upon contact, he had sensed a strange, silent wave emanating from the blade, one that was extremely damaging to the soul. If not for his soul being protected by the heavenly flames, he would have suffered a severe setback. From the distant sky, the heavenly Do Zun's gaze on Xiao carried a newfound solemnity. "No wonder you have repeatedly thwarted our Soul Hall's capture attempts. You indeed possess some skills. In less than a year, you've advanced from a 1-star dosheng to a 2-star dosheng. Such speed even makes me, an old man, marvel. If someone of your talent were to join our Soul Hall, your status and position would be no less than mine." Hearing these words, Xiao chuckled wryly. He and the Soul Hall were locked in a mortal feud. Yet this old fellow still had the audacity to try and recruit him? The strange expression on Xiao face irked the heavenly Do Zun, prompting him to sneer, "Unappreciative wretch. One day, you will understand the true power of my soul clan. Someone like you is nothing more than an ant. For my soul clan, erasing you is as easy as snapping fingers." Xiao remained nonchalant, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Is that so? But before that, let's settle things with you first." The heavenly Do Zun let out a nightmarish laugh. "Just you?" With a grasp of his hand, the massive bone blade flew from the ruins and hovered before him. With a swift movement, he stood atop the blade, which began to emit ripples as the heavenly Do Zun's body slowly merged into the bone blade. Seeing this, Xiao eyebrows raised slightly. Merging man and blade? The colossal bone ghost saint's blade hung in the void, with the heavenly Do Zun's face appearing on its surface. He sneered at Xiao Xiao, I have spent centuries refining my body to merge with the bone ghost saint's blade. Today, you will be the first to taste its power as I offer you as a sacrifice to the blade." As he spoke, numerous fine blood marks spread across the blade's ghastly white surface, resembling human blood vessels. No sooner had the heavenly Do Zun finished speaking than the bone ghost saint's blade shuddered and instantly vanished. The moment the blade disappeared, Xiao heart surged with a sense of urgency. Such speed! Reacting almost reflexively, he retreated rapidly. In the blink of an eye, the space in front of him rippled, and the sharp blade slashed down, the edge stopping just half a foot from his head. "Heh, not a bad reaction." The sinister laugh came again from the bone ghost saint's blade. The blade vibrated, emitting a strange, resonant sound as countless blade shadows materialized, enveloping the space around Xiao in an instant. The sharp gleams targeted all of Xiao vital points. Facing the relentless and fierce attacks from the bone ghost saint's blade, Xiao expression grew solemn. 6-joint flowing ruler. With a firm grasp, the long-unused mysterious heavy ruler appeared in his hand. As the ruler trembled, it created a dense web of shadows, forming a defensive barrier that enveloped his body. Countless sharp blade shadows poured onto the ruler's shadows like a torrential downpour, instantly sparking bursts of fire. Each collision between the ruler's shadows and the blade shadows caused the surrounding space to crack open with pitch-black fissures. Despite Xiao turtle shell-like defense, the attack frequency of the bone ghost saint's blade crazily surged. The terrifying speed of these attacks made Xiao eyes flash with seriousness. Just by relying on this technique alone, the grand heavenly Do Zun could contend with a late-stage 2-star dosheng. Even the formidable Yao Ming would find it difficult to defeat him. The so-called unity of man and blade was indeed extraordinarily eerie. Xiao focused intently on constructing his defense. Suddenly, he felt a sense of danger, and his head jerked to the side. At that moment, The shadow barrier around him was forcibly torn apart by a blinding blade light. A sharp, cold beam struck heavily on Xiao Yan's shoulder. When it made contact with his robe, a burst of light momentarily blocked the blade, but the light was soon torn apart. The Bone Ghost Saint's blade then mercilessly cut into Xiao Yan's shoulder. At the moment of impact, sparks flew, but no blood spilled. Instead, shattered scales shot out, revealing that Xiao Yan had summoned the hidden Dragon Phoenix ancient armor just in time. Taking the hit, Xiao Yan swung his heavy ruler, smashing it against the Bone Ghost Saint's blade and sending it flying. He glanced at the faint bloodstain on his shoulder, his expression turning slightly grim. This was the first time in many years that his six-joint flowing ruler had been forcibly breached. This demonstrated the terrifying speed of the Grand Heavenly Do Zun's attacks after achieving unity with his blade. What a hard body! The Grand Heavenly Do Zun sneered as he reappeared, his body merging back from the Bone Ghost Saint's blade. He looked at Xiao Yan with a twisted smile. Your attack speed is too slow. It can't keep up with my unity of man and blade. Xiao Yan remained expressionless, nodding slightly. He did not deny the Grand Heavenly Do Zun's strength. This technique alone allowed him to challenge late-stage two-star Doshungs, a feat worthy of pride. A long breath slowly escaped from Xiao Yan's mouth as his expression grew increasingly serious. He clasped his hands together, rapidly forming a series of complex hand seals. With the transformation of his hand seals, the soul power from the center of his brow suddenly burst forth, transforming into a giant shadow that enveloped his body. As the hand seal solidified, a cold smile appeared on Xiao Yan's face. You may be fast, but I am faster. Netherworld Heaven's Fury. With a single thought, the enormous shadow slowly opened its huge mouth, unleashing a terrifying soul shockwave that swept out like a storm. As this terrifying sonic soul shockwave expanded, nearly 70% of the experts from the Soul Hall within the area instantly froze. In the next moment, their bodies turned to dust with a loud bang. Both their souls and bodies were obliterated by the soul shockwave. The powerful soul shockwave was also sensed by the Grand Heavenly Do Zun. However, just as he sensed it, before he could mount any defense, the soul shockwave had already reached the blade. The massive Bone Ghost Saint's blade was sent flying at that moment. As it flew out, an aged figure shot out from the blade, spewing a mouthful of blood. The Grand Heavenly Do Zun had been forcibly ejected from the Bone Ghost Saint's blade by Xiao Yan's soul shockwave. Seeing the Grand Heavenly Do Zun forcefully expelled from the Bone Ghost Saint's blade, Xiao Yan's finger suddenly pointed. Netherworld Finger. A giant energy finger condensed and then pressed heavily on the Grand Heavenly Do Zun's body. The immense power instantly caused the latter's body to explode, turning an arm into a mist of blood. With one shout and one finger, the situation was reversed. Xiao Yan showed no mercy, striking once more. Netherworld Palm. A massive energy palm formed and struck the Grand Heavenly Do Zun's body. The latter's body shot down from the sky like a cannonball, crashing into the ground and creating a massive crater several hundred feet wide. 3 moves, the 3 great techniques of the Netherworld Demon Saint. Netherworld Heaven's Fury to injure the soul, Netherworld Finger, and Netherworld Palm to destroy the body. Xiao Yan had perfected these 3 techniques, and their power was truly terrifying. Suspended in the sky, Xiao Yan let out a slow breath, his gaze cold as he looked down at the crater. There, a faint breath still lingered, indicating that the Grand Heavenly Do Zun still had a few breaths left. Xiao Yan's eyes were cold as he pointed his palm at the bottom of the crater. Die! Just as he was about to clench his fist, a sudden, extremely powerful energy fluctuation burst from within the Grand Hall. The space in front of Xiao Yan distorted, and a figure slowly emerged. At the same time, an extraordinarily strong aura filled the enclosed space. Xiao Yan, how dare you? Hearing the deep voice, Xiao Yan smiled and looked at the ghostly figure. He seemed unsurprised by the sudden appearance and said calmly, Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall, after hiding for so long, you finally couldn't resist making a move? The figure that appeared before Xiao Yan was completely shrouded in black mist, with two eerie and sinister eyes faintly visible, sending chills down one's spine. This mysterious figure was none other than the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall, who had previously attempted to obstruct the formation of the Sky Mansion Alliance. Xiao, you're pushing the Soul Hall to collect your father's corpse, the figure said. The black mist gradually dispersed, revealing an exceptionally pale face. Despite the youthful appearance of this face, the sinister tone of the speaker indicated a much older age. I've also said that if anything happens to my father, I will give the Tuasha Ancient Emperor Jade to the Gu clan, Xiao replied with a faint smile, showing no fear. When dealing with the Soul Hall, any sign of weakness would be seized upon and exploited relentlessly. Although Xiao was constantly worried about his father, he couldn't afford to show it. Otherwise, it would only harm both him and his father. No need for that. You won't have the chance. This time, I will personally take you back to the Soul Clan and reunite you with your father, the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall said with a cold smile. The clan originally intended to let you live a bit longer, but it seems you don't value that opportunity. Xiao remained indifferent, not bothering to waste words with the Deputy Hall Master. With a flick of his sleeve, a burst of scorching flames shot towards the massive crater below, intending to finish off the grand heavenly Dozun. Seeing Xiao dare to kill in his presence, the Deputy Hall Master's eyes turned cold. With a flick of his finger, a stream of black gas shot out, transforming into a black dragon that swallowed the flames. Then, his large hand fiercely grabbed at Xiao, releasing a vast cloud of black mist that turned into 5 giant chains, lashing towards Xiao. Don't think that breaking through to a 2-star Dosheng makes you invincible. In the eyes of the Soul Hall, you're nothing. A ferocious expression appeared on the Deputy Hall Master's face. His strength had reached the late stage of 3-star Dosheng, almost as powerful as the Dragon Kings of the 3 Dragon Islands, only slightly weaker than the North Dragon King. This level of power was enough to crush Xiao completely. However, Xiao remained calm in the face of the Deputy Hall Master's fierce attack. Instead of defending himself, he reached out towards the giant crater below, summoning a massive flaming hand to grab into the crater. Seeing Xiao completely ignore his attack, the Deputy Hall Master's eyes turned thoroughly cold. Courting death, he snarled, tightening the black chains around Xiao. Just as the black chains were about to completely bind Xiao, the space around him suddenly rippled violently. A surge of chaotic spatial currents erupted, tearing the chains apart. The sudden intervention shocked the Deputy Hall Master. He quickly scanned the surroundings and shouted coldly, "Who is it?" His shout had barely faded when a clear, cold voice slowly echoed, "In this Emperor's eyes, you are nothing as well." The Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall then saw a graceful and exquisite figure emerge quietly from the void in front of Xiao. From this figure, he felt a considerable pressure. The Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall gazed solemnly at the purple-haired figure and said in a deep voice, "Who are you? This is a matter of the Soul Hall. I advise outsiders not to interfere to avoid bringing disaster upon themselves." Ziyin curled her lips in disdain. Is the Soul Hall that impressive? When the primordial ancient dragon clan was at its peak, even the Soul Clan didn't scare us, let alone a subsidiary force like the Soul Hall. Ziyin's beautiful eyes swept over the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall, and she smiled slightly. Xiao said today, "We will cleanse this place with blood. You could have stayed hidden inside, but you chose to come out and seek death." The Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall's face turned extremely ugly as he coldly shouted, "Arrogant! Do you think you have what it takes to kill me?" In all these years, it was the first time he had heard such blatant threats and disdain. Although he could sense that Ziyin was a 4-star Dosheng, he believed that if it came to a fight, he might not necessarily be doomed. Xiao glanced at the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall, but ignored him. With a grasp of his hand, the flaming hand pulled the grand heavenly Dozun out from the deep pit. The latter's arm had exploded into a mist of blood, his body covered in blood, and even his soul had been wounded by the previous netherworld heaven's fury, leaving his gaze somewhat scattered. Clearly, both his body and soul had suffered severe injuries. Xiao Yin calmly watched the heavily injured Grand Heavenly Dozun, and as the flaming hand pulled him closer, just as he was within 10 feet, the Grand Heavenly Dozun's expression turned hideous, and his body began to swell. However, before his body could fully expand, Xiao Yin expressionlessly clenched his fist, and the flaming hand tightened violently, crushing the Grand Heavenly Dozun's body. As the Grand Heavenly Dozun's body exploded, a black light shot out, desperately heading towards the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall. Seeing the Grand Heavenly Dozun's soul attempting to flee, Xiao Yin snorted coldly, trying to escape? For such powerful beings, as long as their soul remained intact, they could reincarnate by finding a new body. Allowing him to escape would mean future trouble. With a flick of his finger, the flaming hand transformed into a net of fire, covering the Grand Heavenly Dozun's soul. Seeing Xiao Yin trying to stop him, the Deputy Hall Master's face darkened. "You dare!" He raised his hand, and a vast expanse of black mist surged from his sleeve, enveloping the heavens and earth as it swept towards Xiao Yin. As the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall made his move, Ziyin also let out a cold laugh. "In front of this emperor, you have no chance." Her jade-like hand swiftly formed a seal, and a dark golden light burst from her body, forming a massive golden dragon outside her body. The dragon opened its mouth, inhaling the corrosive black mist in a few breaths. "Primordial ancient dragon royal clan?" The Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall exclaimed in shock upon seeing the golden dragon summoned by Ziyin. As Ziyin intercepted the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall, Xiao Yan's hand clenched tightly. "Come back to me." The fiery net enveloped the Grand Heavenly Dozun's soul, its intense heat causing the latter to scream in agony. The soul was quickly pulled back into Xiao Yan's grasp. Staring at the black mist within the fiery net, which had coalesced into the Grand Heavenly Dozun's face filled with extreme resentment and ferocity, Xiao Yin remained unfazed. The fiery net contracted, forming a flaming jade bottle. He placed a soul seal on it and tossed it into his storage ring. This old man, being the Grand Heavenly Dozun of the Soul Hall, surely knew many secrets. Perhaps, Xiao Yin could extract information about the Soul Hall's purpose in collecting souls. Watching as Xiao Yin sealed the Grand Heavenly Dozun's soul, the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall laughed in anger. "I didn't expect you could even enlist the help of the primordial ancient dragon clan." A 4-star Doshang was considered top tier even within the Soul Clan. He hadn't anticipated that Xiao Yin could secure such powerful assistance. The Deputy Hall Master's figure retreated rapidly. However, the Soul Hall is not something a junior like you can claim to cleanse with blood. At the same time, a silver jade slip appeared in his hand. He crushed it, and a dense spatial ripple spread rapidly. To his shock, however, no spatial channel appeared. The dispersing spatial energy drifted for a while before gradually dissipating. Ziyin, with a playful look, watched as the Deputy Hall Master's expression grew increasingly grim. She smiled and said, "The space in this area has been concealed by my spatial turbulence. No spatial fluctuations can get out. So even using a spatial jade slip, you can't call for reinforcements." The Deputy Hall Master's face twitched slightly, and his heart sank completely. It was evident that Xiao Yin and his companions had come well prepared. Xiao Yan's eyes were cold as he gazed at the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall. "The Soul Hall has been hunting my master and me for years. Now, it's time to settle the score. Rest assured, I will dismantle the heaven, earth, and human halls one by one." The Deputy Hall Master took a deep breath, looking at the ravaged, enclosed space. "Xiao Yin, the only mistake my Soul Hall made these years was not killing you early, allowing you to grow your wings. But don't get too complacent. Though my Soul Clan is constrained by the ancient clan rules and can't act rashly, that won't restrain us for long." He then saw that the massive black hall had mostly collapsed, and many of the human hall's experts had perished in the earlier battle. The losses were catastrophic. The Deputy Hall Master smiled coldly. "When the time comes, you'll find that my Soul Clan far surpasses your imagination. And at that time, it will be the complete annihilation of your Xiao Clan and the Sky Mansion Alliance." His body suddenly exploded, black mist enveloping the area, tearing through the spatial turbulence. In a flash, he vanished into the rift, abandoning everyone in the human hall.